Hi everyone, welcome to Web3 Voice by Zeeve, where we talk about all things app chains, rollups, DeFi, AI, gaming, and similar interests in industries, of course. I'm Karthik. I'm the digital media manager at Zeeve. Today's special discussion will be on the topic of networking and culture. You know, Thomas and Gunn, who have attended KBW and Token 2049, will be offering the behind the scenes for us today. And as I just mentioned, our guest speakers today are Ghan Vashishtha, who's the co-founder and CTO at Zeeve, and Thomas Abraham, who's the CRO of Zeeve. Welcome to the Zeeve Battery Voice, Thomas and Gunn. So, please introduce yourselves, and followed by you can start discussing with the whatever happened at KBW and Token 2049. And I'm here if you need any assistance.
Yeah, hi folks. My name is Thomas Abraham. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Zeeve, and we are very excited to be here today. Yeah, chatting about what really happened at KBW in Seoul and Token 2049 in Singapore. Absolutely right, Thomas. Hi everyone. My name is Ghan Vashishtha. I'm the co-founder CTO at Zeeve, and what not happened at KBW and Singapore Token 2049. There's a lot to bring to light. There's a lot to share as an experience. There's a lot of fun element, and it was a great 2 weeks of whirlwind which we were into, and first Seoul and then Singapore back to back from KBW to Token 29. Two completely different vibes but equally fascinating. We had everything from subway adventures and translation fails to deep panels on AI, Web3 infrastructure and deepen. Isn't it, Thomas? No, absolutely, and it was wonderful to have you, Ghan, as a partner in crime for this long 15-day sojourn that we had in Seoul and Singapore, right? Right. So I think, So I think it was really wonderful, and I think it was our first KBW. So Zeeve for the first time was really attending KBW, and it was our first trip to Seoul, and what an eye opener, right? I mean, it was right from the time we landed at the airport, absolutely world class airport they have there, and then amazing infrastructure that city brings forth. And I think so. For me personally, when I go to a city, I first try and figure out what is the public transport that's available, because if you use public transport in a particular city, you really get a good feel for that city, and then you really get to understand the entire geography of that city a lot better. So I think both Ghan and I, we used no, we first thing we did was really get those travel cards, and we used the subway, the trains, and the buses so effectively. So that was really amazing. So that's the first thing that really struck me. Yeah. So how about you, Ghan? I mean, what really struck you as what was your first impression of Seoul? Right. No, it was really, really impactful. I remember navigating Seoul as non-Korean speaker was like hilarious and yet humbling. The subway system was like a multi-chain network, tons of layers, everything well connected, but you still have to guess the right bridge. And we many a times went on to the other side of the subway where we were not supposed to be. And we probably became the top users of translation apps and GPT that week, and especially because I was supposed to be calculating menus, science, even food ingredients, trying to make sure that the tofu didn't turn out to be a squid. But honestly, as those moments make you realize that how global connection mirrors decentralization, and people help you even if you don't share a language, and how important getting into the tech nowadays is if you have to travel across the world and see different cultures, and yet make these uh, conferences and events impactful. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the interesting thing about Seoul is that they have some, about Korea in general, is that they have some, basic standards of their own. For example, Google Maps don't work there, right? So you've got to download the neighbor map, which was, I think Gun did comment when we were at Singapore that he thought the neighbor map was better than the Google map. So that was amazing. Likewise, most of these cities now have their own local cabs, right? So you have the Kakao app, and you don't have the Ubers of the world there. So I think, but despite the fact that, so it's a country where most people don't speak English. So, but because of the fact that you're
technology enabled on your phone, you can pretty much navigate the city without asking anyone any questions. So I think that was the beauty of it. It was friction free. It was amazing. People were wonderful, and I think overall it was a fantastic experience being in Seoul. And I think coming now to more to the business end of it. Obviously, we were not at the main event of KBW, which in hindsight was a good decision, because what we heard from a lot of people was that, as always, the main event is extremely packed and crowded, and you really find it difficult to connect with people and network and what have you. So I think for us, for Z, what really has worked well at KBW, Token, and at various other events is to be a lot more focused in terms of what are those side events that you want to attend, number one. But I think over the last 2 years, what has also happened is that our business has matured significantly. And because of that maturity in our business, we are able to now get a lot of one-on-one meetings right through, those 4 5 days that we are in a particular city. So we actually had a very packed calendar of a lot of one-on-one meetings, as well as very niche side events, which were highly curated, which only had a small number of people, which were very focused and extremely relevant for our business. Right? I mean, what do you think, Zeeve? What do you think, Ghan?
I don't know, absolutely. In fact, these conferences were not just about being there in a big crowded event, running across or among people, and then figuring out how it works and what way which it works. And if I have to say, define KBW in Singapore, I would say KBW was like, it has this deep Web3 and infrastructure vibe at it. Smaller, more focused. You could walk into different events, hear people discussing different technologies around Web3, AI, deep and stablecoin, RWAs. And while Singapore was like huge investor founders ecosystems, number of side events were so many that you could not even brain run them, let alone going there. But again, in the bigger picture was RWA, stablecoins, AI, and how everything ties into real world utility. So, our focus, like Thomas mentioned, you just mentioned, was to get into those focused meetings where we discussed, the use of protection technology in most of these sectors, and how to turn, discussions into reality, into use cases, into production chains, into infrastructure, power packed for the future of tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think talking about KBW specifically, I thought it was an amazing 1 week in Seoul, attending meetings, attending some of these side events, because we found that many of them were very, very focused and extremely targeted. And I must outline a few things that were very useful. I think ZK Singh had this wonderful event where which was highly curated. It was just about 50, 60 of us in a room. It was a sit down dinner. Of course, there was a great theme around tuna carving and so on, which happened, which was really memorable. And we had the good fortune of meeting with Alex Gluchowski, who was the CEO of ZK Sync, as well as some of the big chains like Abstract and GRVT and what have you. So it was a great networking opportunity, at the same time to be able to meet with some of the leadership folks at ZK Sync. Likewise, Avalanche had their own event, which was again a very targeted event and extremely useful, because we were able to make some good connections there. Meet up with there were lots of folks from Avalanche from the US who were down, so like John Nass and a whole lot of other people. So it was a great way of connecting with many of them, as well as some potential prospects over there. So I think what we're seeing is that some of these events are really helping us go to the next level in our collaboration with many of these chains, and of course there were many other emerging chains, like for example Kaya, which is largely Korea and Singapore driven, or Zero G and what have you. And maybe Ghan, yeah, you can talk about some of the speaking opportunities that you had as well.
Right. Yeah. So starting, from Korea, I was on a panel, in Hack Summit, where it was moderated by Jake from Zero G, and the discussion topics were like really, really curated for the future of infrastructure. We were very boldly discussing about how AI is transforming the reality of things we operate around us and all, and how Web3 is is now not becoming a competitive to AI, but it's becoming it's a pathway to how the AI is to be achieved in future. And then we were discussing how this can pave the way for a new generation of infrastructure enabling AI using Web3. So that was very, very interesting in terms of how boldly people were discussing these topics. And this year, you know, it was felt refreshingly grounded. Narratives weren't just marketing lines anymore. In these panels, I could hear a lot many fellow panelists and other panels which I could hear. It's not just marketing lines anymore. People were discussing real infrastructure, real use cases like RWA deepen, and AI had builders, pilots, and even early traction, which was amazing to hear and see. And if you continue to see 2023, we've been there at Token as well. It was modularity to NL2s. 2024, it was about integrations and several many on top services. The theme is definitely converging into an infrastructure first story, and we could witness the same to those panels, which I was fortunate to become part of, where we were talking infrastructure at scale, and the same, when I was at the AI frontier, among some panelists like Arpit from Aether and some others, who were discussing how infrastructure is becoming the finest, most pivotal element of a vital element of everything which is built on top of, combined with AI and Web3 as two superpowers, delivering those use cases all around. And what are the challenges in terms of, the future of scalability is to be seen when Web3 and AI use cases are talked about together. So we could discuss a lot many things and share our energy and experiences, while had those tough questions from the audiences as well about course, when what would become reality, what is possible today, what is not possible today. Would decentralized compute solve all the questions we are having about centralized chains where trust is still in question? If the scalability is going in the right direction, if certain parties are controlling the narrative, manufacturing GPUs and controlling the overall narrative, or some chains which are designing these abstracted layers of infrastructure upon which a lot of AI chains, on-chain Web3 solutions can be built along, but then again being slightly centralized. So we could discuss all in depth. So it was very refreshingly grounded, I would say, this year.
Yeah, and no, yeah, and one thing definitely, it also grounds you as a person visiting, because one of the things that you need to have in your travel kit is an umbrella for sure, right? And there was a torrential rainfall on one particular day, and so having an umbrella in our travel kit is extremely important. Likewise, even in Dubai, I remember it was extremely hot, so very sunny. So having an umbrella is very useful. But having said that, we obviously the theme at many of these events now has shifted to stablecoin, RWA, AI, and what have you. And in 2023, it was a lot of buzz around L2s, and so there is some conversations around L2s. But the reality that we are seeing now in the market is that while the conversation around L2s and L1s do not seem to be fully up there, but the quality of projects which are now wanting to do an L2 or an L1 are really are really up there, right? Unlike what we were seeing in 2023, where where every second startup without any money in their pocket was wanting to do a roll up or an app chain, and then invariably many of them would do a would set up a test net, run it for a while, a couple of months, and then sort of abandon the project. So I think that's a big shift that we are seeing in the market, where serious projects are now coming to the table, right? With serious discussions, and we're seeing that with some big brands over there, like you had Robinhood and doing an L2, and Circle doing an L1, and likewise there were so many others, right? So even the kind of people who are now having conversations with us are far more serious players than what they were in the past. So I think that's very refreshing, and that's great for our business, because that's really the core focus for us. So that's one piece of it. The other thing is that I think what I also am observing is that there is a huge expectation of a value add from a RAS or an app chain provider like us. It's not just providing the core infrastructure where you can just come and one click is great. it does a lot of magic for you. But I think now a lot of people are going into more deeper discussions around what stack should I use, right? Given my use case, and they expect you to provide them some great consulting, expertise and advice on that. And that's what we saw even at in the various projects that we met. As well as people also may want some level of customization, some development work. So there will be consulting, advisory, development work, and what have you. Deal sizes certainly much bigger than what they were in the past. I think people are less price sensitive now. I think they are more quality sensitive. They want something which is more stable, which is more long term. I think all that augurs really well for an industry and for someone like Zeeve, because we've got a great engineering team. We have great consulting capabilities, and we are also building a good reputation as a very reliable partner for handling large projects. Number one. Also, now we are also getting knocked on our door by people who want to do migration projects, right? And our skill sets come in handy. So I think we're seeing a shift in landscape, even in our core business, which is really good for us because it fits in with what we are trying to focus on. And of course, there's a great opportunity for us to wet our feet and get deeper into this entire stable coin, RWA, and also the intersection of AI and Web3.
Right, absolutely right, Thomas. In fact, these events, they were really, and the meetings we had, they were really validated these direction, simplifying deployments, abstracting complexity, powering the next generation of decentralized networks. The more AI deepen and RWA networks grow, the more infrastructure will become the silent differentiator. And that's the sweet spot. And now if we see we are entering the era of abstraction, infra is becoming invisible. Builders, projects, they shouldn't need to know. They in fact do not know at all how the backend works. They just want to deploy and scale. And modular infra will mature when it feels monolithic again. That's something which I could hear at a lot many places. But then simple, predictable, and efficient infra would come back alive again. And this whole convergence of AI, RW, and decentralization compute is going to redefine the Web3 stack. It's not just about running chains anymore. We ourselves are seeing a lot of projects coming to us that it's more sounding like that, we're enabling intelligent interconnected networks rather than just simple chains. And interoperability is taking a strong, playing a strong role in all that. And Zee's focus is right there. It's to be that, plug and play infrastructure backbone that makes all the innovation possible, not just delivering a bare minimalistic chain, like Thomas said. It's about delivering chains in a full stack approach, bringing all the integrations, interoperability, tools, consulting, and infrastructure advisory on top of it, including use cases and other interconnected technologies. So that's really happening at a rapid pace as of now. That's what we could realize, during the overall trending vibes at the events.
And then clearly one of our goals was to see how could we get more local in a market like Korea, because what the general trend now is that there is a fair amount of buzz in Asia around blockchain and Web3. Like in the US is now opening up. So even in the Asian market. So I think one of our goals in Korea was also to see how could we really crack our first deal, right? And how could we build a strong partnership with a local player, because these are markets which are difficult to crack, right? I mean, there's a lot of advantage that local Korean companies have. So what does it take for us to localize ourselves? So that was one. So fair amount of our time went meeting with potential partners who could collaborate with us, who could really be our extended arm in Korea. And we hope that in the next 3 to 6 months we can firm up something in that direction. But we are also in conversation with a few other people for cracking some deals. So there are some, we're not at liberty to talk about it today because these are all work in progress, but there could be an opportunity for us there is a couple of deals that we're working on in Korea. And I think if we are able to crack them, I think it will really put us at the next level in the Korean market. And that would be really critical, because once you get your first few deals in a local market, then I think then it's just a question of moving there. Particularly if that deal is with a community which has a great brand, right? So that's something that was one of our goals. and we believe that this trip was really monumental in that, because it helped us position ourselves for that particular deal, and hopefully we can make it happen, and then build a much stronger presence in Korea. Because clearly KBW should be on our beat next year as well. It definitely will be on our beat for the next few years, because it was our first trip, but a significant eye opener, and we believe that if we can crack this deal in the next few months, then we can start building on it and figure out what our go-to-market strategy in that market should be. Right. So I think that was another significant highlight of our entire Korea trip.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And honestly, this trip reminded us that Web3 is not just about code; it's about culture, connection, curiosity, and getting into these new words of market segments. It is required that we stitch these connections together and work in those directions. And at, at Zeeve, we are just building the infrastructure, but then infrastructure is needed by everybody. We could realize that a lot of regional players were also looking to expand their partnerships and make ways into the international ecosystem, or they were requiring help from the international ecosystem into the regional domain. And we could sense that we could meet a lot many of them. Of course, like Thomas said, we could not mention. We could also see a next generation of layer one chains infrastructure elements are coming out, which would redefine how use cases are to be built. So it's all happening in many different ways. And if KBW and Token 2049 showed us anything, it's that decentralization future is already happening, just in different accents and time zones. So yeah, it was a first trip. We didn't really know that how deep the Korean blockchain ecosystem itself is already now. And yes, I think we are at the heart of everything, and we will be there again, and we'll be deepening our ties. We'll be deepening our expansion, and we'll be exploring and in fact coming up with more partnerships and real world use cases built on Zeeve infrastructure by that time.
Yeah, and I think I must also point out that the fact that we did the Memento blockchain, which is a Providium implementation of zk Sync, has also has been amazing, because I think we're getting a lot of traction now with other players and we had a number of meetings actually with potential prospects who were looking at basically a zk chain with privacy built in. So I think that's opening a whole new door into the entire institutional market, and that's the way we would like to go, because we see that the entire institutional opportunity is far more enterprise focused. So I think from a strategy perspective, we are becoming more and more enterprise focused. So this Providium chain of zk Sync becomes a very critical component to deliver that privacy option, which a lot of banks and other institutions will be looking for when they get onto a public chain. So I think that's opened the doors for us to enter this a very exciting and high value market, not just in Asia but in the US and a whole lot of other places as well. But I think we're making some strong strides there, and hopefully in the next few months we'll be in a position to make some more announcements of some other significant deals that we'll be able to do, and we also become a trusted partner of zk Sync in their as they start to penetrate more and more institutions. So that I think that was an exciting angle, and we had a great meeting with the team from Memento as well in Singapore. So I think that's another significant highlight that I thought I should just mention today.
Yeah, no, that's bang on. And that's exactly what's happening. And what's exciting is that enterprises are no longer just experimenting with blockchain. They're building governed, private, and compliant ecosystems. And they want all the benefits of decentralization, immutability, automation, interop, but with the privacy and control built in. And the projects that you could not mention the name of, but we met them and all. And they're building this on top of stacks like zk Sync, Providium. And Zeeve is one of the first to offer an end-to-end zk Sync Providium infrastructure baked into, baked or tailor-made for these use cases in a week's time. And we are seeing this could change the narrative to privacy first modular stacks, which Providium, of course, it already is. And for instance, it is designed to enable enterprises to build private permission zk rollups that still leverage Ethereum security. And of course, zk Sync technology is already game changing. It's like getting the power of a public blockchain with the description of a private one. So you have these kind of techs available now. And Zee's approach is about abstracting away complexity. So I'm just repeating this again, whether it's ZK circuits, roll-up management, data permissioning, indexing. So the teams can simply focus on building their logic, use cases, contracts, but not maintaining infrastructure. That is something which we pioneer in. And this is the broader narrative about how we are going to be enabling permissionless, hybrid, completely private, privacy-driven infrastructures all at the same time.
Yeah, and Singapore is a must halt every year for us because what we are now seeing is that many of our customers are come to Token. I mean, all over the world, not just from Asia, but from all over the world. So it's a great melting pot for us because we get to meet our customers face to face, and that makes a big difference, right? In a world that we live in, digital and online, I think meeting face to face and building those relationships. I mean, there's no alternative to that, really, right? So I think, that's a market where we had. So that's one event where we find the maximum number of our customers and prospects actually attending. So that's also been an amazing experience. So we feel that coming to Singapore every year would be extremely useful for us to build on those relationships, and then to be able to leverage those relationships and do a lot more. So that was another highlight, that I really saw from this particular trip. Right? Yeah.
Absolutely. So if we talk about closing reflections or wrapping it up, it's all discovery and culture and how Web3 is growing so fast. Every year we see it in different shape and different reality, and but one thing is remaining common, that is that it's moving and everybody is building for the next phase, and it's becoming more invisible but still indispensable. So our focus would remain at infrastructure. We would be there again, and I think not just KBW and Token 2049. I think we should also be talking about where we are heading next. So we're going to Cosmoverse, where we'll be expanding deeper into Cosmos ecosystem. We already run like about 4 or 5 mainnets built out of the Cosmos SDK, custom tailor made for different use cases. So we would be going there, and we would be doing those deeper partnerships and discussions about how we can help more projects launch their Cosmos based layer 1 chains as well, be it EVM compatible or be it Cosmoverse completely. Then I think we are. I mean, Thomas can talk about where he's heading, and then what's next on the horizon.
Yeah. So after Cosmoverse in Croatia, I head to Buenos Aires for Devconnect, and that's again a significant opportunity for us to look at a new market which is emerging. Lots of things happening on the Web3 front. So the entire Latin American market is also something that we are actively exploring. We already have conversations going on with potential projects in Latin America. We really want to build on it, and we see that the participation there is quite significant because it's a huge event happening. So I think a lot of people from around the world will be there. I think a lot of the protocols are looking at strategic ways to expand in that market, and we would like to be part of that story as well. So this is all an expansion story for Zeeve at this point in time. We had been doing historically well in most parts of Europe. Now the US market is opening up, so we're spending more time over there. So after Devconnect, I'm going to be for 2 weeks in the US as well. So the intent is that we now want to open up, go to markets where we haven't been before, because there's so much happening in those markets, and then figure out what should be our go-to-market to really penetrate those markets. How do we build some meaningful partnerships so that we're able to accelerate our growth and really transform Zeeve into the next generation company, and where our brand will be well recognized. We will have some great marquee enterprise customers, because a lot of our focus now is enterprise, apart from the Web3 native. What kind of offering should we build right beyond the roll up and the app chain? What are some products that we need to build, and so on and so forth? So I think it's a very exciting phase that we're getting into, and we're very excited for the next couple of months.
Absolutely. So Thomas, before we close, for me, I think I would definitely ask you to talk about it as well. For me, Singapore wins for efficiency, while Seoul wins for culture, chaos, and sheer character. So Seoul for soul, Singapore for scale. What's it for you?
I think I think from a strictly from if I look at from a business angle, I think Seoul has opened the doors for some significant new opportunities, right, for Zeeve, which can take us to the next level. I think from the Singapore's perspective, I think it was a lot of it was consolidating our position because it was around. I think we had some great quality meetings there, but many of them were with existing customers and so on. So I think there was a big, I could see that difference, and therefore the circuit is good. Seoul and then Singapore, it makes a very good circuit because there are some unique differences. Apart from that, of course, I think Korea was a great experience. Definitely. I could see Ghan sitting in our Korean barbecue and just figuring out what he should do because he was just taking photographs and making videos while I was doing all the eating. So hopefully, I think Singapore gave more options to Ghan. So hopefully, we will have some great moments of that kind. Where there are something unique a city offers, as well as some fantastic, business experiences. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Thomas. Thank you, everybody, for joining us in today. We could not express KBW and token in like 30 minutes, but we did our best. And I think you would hear from us more and more about what's happening more at Zeeve, where we're heading, and how these events are changing the shape of overall Web3, AI, deep in RWA stablecoin, and much more. So stay tuned, enjoy your day, and see you again very soon.
Yeah. Bye, folks. Bye for now.